Hello again, and welcome back to Rails Quest. I'm excited about the topic today. We're going to talk about how to deploy your Rails app to any server that has Docker on it and do it in a way that's secure so that you are the only one who can access it. And it's very easy to control who can even get to your Rails server. Really, this will work with any service, but we're going to focus on Rails because that's what this channel is about. And it's a little more involved. So actually, if you wanted to deploy a service that's already packaged up as a publicly available Docker image, you can take these same steps and actually take out the step where you build your Rails app and instead stick whatever image you're trying to deploy in there, and it'll work just fine. There's other ways to do what I'm about to show you. Some of them have their own little benefits, and maybe we'll talk about them on the channel another time. But what I really like about this approach is as long as you've got Docker on the server you're trying to deploy to, it doesn't need any DNS configuration. It doesn't need anything except Docker being installed and SSH access, really, to be a functional server for your Rails app, a functional place to deploy it. And you can do this with any service. I think this is exciting for the current moment because we're looking at Rails being pitched as the one-man framework. And it's in the context of these AI technologies that are accelerating some parts of our development workflow. We can delegate some tasks to AI, and these AI agents can do pretty okay with them. In many cases, maybe most cases, that's all you need, especially when you're talking about a small scale app. I'm really excited about the idea of deploying small scale apps for very small use cases in a protected environment. I think we're going to see more fragmentation of the market where people have more and more custom apps. I think that's a good thing. We're going to have more competition. We're going to have more options for consumers and more interesting problems to work on. So without going too philosophical, let's get down to some of the practical details. What I have highlighted here is Tailscale, and that gives away one aspect of what we're going to be doing today. Tailscale, to put it simply, says your legacy VPN belongs in the past, so that gives you a hint of what we're looking at. Tailscale is a VPN, but it allows you to easily access all of the nodes within your VPN. It has a lot of nice goodies on top of that, like the magic DNS, that allow you to deploy services very easily within your VPN so that they're only accessible in your private network with Tailscale. You can get very involved with the rules for what people who have access to your network have access to specific parts of your network. We're not going to get into all of that today. I just want to show you how you can share a service with a nice SSL encrypted HTTP Rails app that we're used to deploying, but it's only accessible inside your VPN. You can take care of security on your Rails app, and that's great to do even if you're going to deploy it in a VPN. Here, we get the ability to focus on other things. We've got some of the security taken care of by this Tailscale, and also the convenience factor. If I just have a personal app that I want to play with and deploy to a local server or stick it in the cloud somewhere, it's seamless. It's the same commands no matter where you want to deploy it. And you don't have to mess with any DNS configuration. All of that is taken care of. You don't have to buy a domain or own one. Just a few simple commands, a few lines of code, and you're up and running. So with that sales pitch and that kind of lofty goal, let's dive into it and see if we can't make this pay off. So the first thing we're going to do in typical Rails Quest style, we're going to generate a Rails app. This is using my default Rails Quest template, so it's going to come with authentication and a nice bit of styling using CSS0, my favorite Rails styling library. Now that we have our Rails app generated, we're going to create a compose file. So it's 60 lines, which YAML can be a little bit verbose in the vertical direction there, but let's take it step by step to make sure that we are on the same page and that we understand what's going on here. This name, that's just a nice thing to give your app a name on the compose namespace. So your app, wherever you're deploying this service, is going to have this prefixed on all of its services. When you look at the containers using Docker PS, you should see that, and it'll help you identify which apps are running, which services are running, and do whatever commands you need from there. So you've got your service. This is a typical Rails app service. Going to be passing in our master key. We're going to pass in storage as a volume and restart always. That's what you want to do if you want to run this as a service in the background. Regardless of whether the server reboots, you always want this app to be running. depends on TS. We'll look at that in a moment. And network mode, service TS. That is important for the Tailscale connection. And that's where we get to this TS service. You can see that it uses the Tailscale official image. This is where we define our host name. That's going to be prefixed to our Tailscale domain. If this is going over your head, we will look at it more concretely in a moment. Once we've got things deployed, we can look at TS auth key. This is what's going to authenticate your service with your Tailscale network. We're going to have a tag on our service that's going to do some Tailscale magic to make sure that it is available in the way that we need it to be. We're going to pass in a Tailscale config. This config is what's going to help us have a SSL enabled URL for our Rails app. And the rest of this stuff is just some technical details that I think I'm going to leave as homework for the viewer. And as always, if you have questions, please drop them in the comments and I would be happy to try and answer them or maybe even make a video. That is always helpful. Please do ask questions in the comments. I really appreciate that. This little bit adds some extra permissions, so you may want to look at that. Always review any code before you take it from a random stranger on the internet. Don't take my word for it. Look into what these things do. They add these capabilities to the Tailscale container that's running. And it's just some extra permissions that containers wouldn't normally get by default to be able to do the networking magic Tailscale needs to do on your behalf. We get this restart always, and we get our config. This should be familiar to anyone who's used Docker Compose. These are volumes. These are places that you can store their virtual volumes, virtual drives. You could think of it as a hard drive mounted into your running container, and that just allows you to have some persistent storage. Then this is the definition of our config. This is a fancy way that Docker Compose allows you to embed a file or some content within your Docker Compose file, so I don't have to have multiple files. If this was much more involved, I would probably want to come up with a way to inject this into the image or come up with a more sustainable option. I wouldn't want to have this be just hundreds of lines of embedded files. But since it's just one config file, I think we are good to go here. It's a really elegant solution for this simple of a situation. And that is the whole Docker Compose file. Pretty easy to understand. This right here is a little bit of magic. This environment variable gets injected into the container when it authenticates, and it has access to your domain for your service. So it can forward your SSL port 443 to your running app at localhost 3000. So how does that work? These are two different containers. If you know anything about Docker, you know that by default things are compartmentalized, or you could say containerized. They're put into their own containers. So how is it able to point at localhost when this is a separate service from your application? Well, that's where this stuff comes in. Depends on just means that this service should run if this one is running. It tells Docker that this service depends on that service. But this part right here is the magic that allows those two apps networking to be on the same network interface. So that's some Docker magic, and it just makes things easier. It's the recommended way to connect two services in the same Docker Compose cluster that you're deploying, at least for this Tailscale deployment technique. That's a lot of very detailed minutia, but I wanted to make sure that we went through this file so that it's not too much magic for you. And if Docker Compose is old hat to you, then that should all just be some extra bonus review. There is one more thing we can do. We can create a Docker context. So that's another Docker concept that we need to make sure we understand. I'm going to show you a command that allows you to create a Docker context that runs your Docker commands on another server over SSH. So now we're creating the RQ channel Docker context, and it's defining the host as an SSH host, and this is the host name. And I've already set up this host name to point at a server that I have access to. So now we've got that. If we say Docker context RQ channel PS, that ran the command on this remote server. Now we're connected to that server. You can also do Docker context use, and then all your Docker commands will run on that server by default. Okay, I'm switching it back to default so I don't forget that later. I typically don't like to use the subcommand of context because I don't want to be switching context into a different project and then forget that I had switched it over to the other Docker context. So I tend to be explicit with every command. All right, so now let's also make sure that we have our required things in the config directory here. We should have our master key, yes. Okay, now we need to switch over to Tailscale. So as you can see, I have a Tailscale DNS name, but what I'm going to do is go straight to the keys section and I'm going to generate an auth key, right? And we're going to say it's reusable. You don't have to do that if you're only going to use it to authenticate one service, but I find it more convenient to have a reusable key. And you set an expiration maximum of 90 days. Probably good practice to rotate your keys at least that often. There's also ways to create keys that never expire, but we're not going to cover that in this video. This is the most straightforward way to create a key. And then you can decide whether you want this to be ephemeral, and you can add tags. Now here's a step you need to do before you create your key. You need to go over here to your access controls and create a tag. And remember, back in our compose file, we have it tagged as service. So let's go ahead and use that. You can come up with whatever name you would like. And to remind yourself of what that tag was for, you can write yourself a little note and it shows up there. So there's your tag. Now let's go back to keys. We're going to generate an auth key and generate that key. We're going to save that key into the config directory along with the Rails master key. And I can show you that will come into play in a little bit. Let's look at the key. You see that I'm expecting the TS auth key to be passed in through an environment variable. So we'll look for that momentarily. Now that we have our Tailscale auth key and we have our Rails app and we have our Docker context on a remote machine, the Docker context is pointed at our server that we want to deploy this to, we are just about ready to deploy this thing. That's all it takes. I spent a little bit of time explaining things, but there's really not a lot going on here. So I'm showing you the machine's dashboard because I want to show you that there is just one machine currently connected to the network, and that is the one I'm operating on right now. The only reason it's connected to that network is because I'm going to want to access this app once it is deployed. So let's say we go ahead and deploy this. Here is the full deploy command. I'm passing in the auth key by concatenating that into the variable and the master key. Then I'm using the Docker context explicitly and saying Docker compose up. If you're familiar with Docker compose, you know that Docker compose up is going to build any unbuilt images, stand up the service, keep it running, and show you the logs in real time. If you want this to run in the background, you add a little -d on the end of that. But I want this to run in the foreground for now for the example, just so we can see logs and see what's going on under the hood. So what this is going to do, it's going to connect to my remote server. It's going to pull any images it needs to pull, and it is going to build the Docker image for my Rails app. It's transferred to the context. All my code is now going up to the server, and we'll just watch this build and probably fast forward through this part. Okay, let's go ahead and look at our tailnet. DNS, Magic DNS is enabled, but you need to explicitly enable HTTPS. So now that that's enabled, let's test this out. So the way that you build your URL to access your app is you have a base DNS name assigned to you. You can rename your tailnet to something else. They don't let you pick your exact name because then you would be able to claim your own territory on their domain. They will let you shuffle through and pick your own funny words that they put together. This is the default thing you'll get. You'll get tail and some sort of hash after that. If we copy that, we stick it in there, and then go over to our compose file and look at the host name, demo Rails app. Copy that. I'm going to stick that in front of there, put HTTPS in front of it, and that is your URL for your app. So let's take a look at the logs here. You can see it's doing some DNS, some SSL certificate provisioning, and then you'll see some app logs from our Rails app. We see a 500. Now anyone, this is quiz time, who has seen a 500 after booting a Rails app for the first time, what is the most common cause? You guessed it, it is the database. database. So we get a generic error there, but I'm going to break my rule and use Docker context use. Docker PS is going to show that we have our Rails app running. One easy way to access that is to grab that name right off of there. Let's see if we can start a bash shell inside that container. Good. So now we can run something like bin rails db create the migrate. And now we can sign in to our server. And just to show that this works, let's go ahead and create a user. It's not going to let us do that because we have a detection. Now we have a password. So I'm going to copy that so I don't have to type it in. We're going to put our email address here and we've signed into our service. You don't have to know the IP address of that service. I'm accessing it over SSH. This could be deployed to a local machine in your network. This machine happens to be on an EC2 instance in Ohio. I have plenty of services on my local machine also, and they're all accessible over the internet as long as I'm connected to my Tailscale VPN. You can go and build whatever you want and deploy it. I hope that you do play with this, and if you do, let me know what you think. If you'd like to have the code for this, drop me a comment and tell me that's what you want, and I will do it. But in the meantime, I appreciate so much you joining me on this video. Thank you for watching to the end. I wish you a belated happy Thanksgiving if you're in the USA, or even if you're not, if you just want to join in. We love to share Thanksgiving with the whole world. I hope you share in it with us. I'm grateful for you, and I can't wait to see you again next time.